Agent Erica Stout here with a quick little video about some very peculiar glass I found at my local Goodwill. Here we have an assortment of this beautiful green glass. It's like this clear green that is the color of springtime and jelly beans. But if you look at it kind of at the side, you'll see that it almost appears to glow a little bit. This glass I picked up all at my local Goodwill in Vancouver, Washington. And when I was on the aisle where the glassware was, I noticed there were quite a few pieces of this green glass. And I have a little bit of a history of vintage glassware, and so I knew almost immediately what I thought it was. I've turned off the lights for this next section of the video, and you probably can't even see me, but you're gonna see me and the glassware in just a second because it is glowing under my black light. So when I was in the store, I knew, or I thought I knew, what this glassware was. So this is commonly referred to as uranium glass, UV glass, or Vaseline glass. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but I just wanted to show you some of the amazingness that happens when you shine a black light on this glass. And my nails are glowing too, and my sweatshirt. What can I say? So here we are, radioactive uranium glass from my Goodwill. Now let's talk a little bit more about this glassware. So as I said, when I was in the Goodwill, I had a feeling that I knew what it was, just because of that ability where when you kind of turn it, it glows a little bit. In the last segment, I mentioned a black light, but I need to clarify because it's actually an ultraviolet light. So not a black light, not one of those black light bulbs that you buy at the store around Halloween time. It is a UV light. The light I'm using is called the UV Beast, and this thing is awesome. Okay, so it's a UV light. The light that is emitted is kind of a purplish color, ultraviolet, and the UV is what causes the uranium to react. So it's not a black light bulb, it is a UV light. So back to the glassware. So I have different plates and things, and like I said, when I was at the store, I had a feeling that I knew what it was, but the only way to really verify is to shine a black light on it. So the UV Beast is awesome because it works in ambient lighting, so like room lighting. Like I can clearly look at all of these pieces and see that they're glowing. Different types of plates. Now, when was this made? So uranium was used to color glass starting in about the 1800s, and it was used up until probably maybe the 1960s, 70s, 50s, somewhere around then. Again, I'm not a glass expert, I just have a little bit of history. So originally, and why it's called Vaseline glass occasionally, is we see this picture of this boot here. And it is the color of Vaseline. So these were some of the first uranium glass pieces. So the uranium was used to give it that yellow color. Here is a tub of the Safeway generic brand petroleum jelly, but you can see the similarities. So pieces of this color were called Vaseline glass because they resembled the shade of Vaseline, and they were colored with uranium. Later, they started adding other minerals to the glass to color it. So like this green here, iron was added to give it the green color. Because there was still uranium in it, it was still referred to as the Vaseline glass. So even though this is not the color of Vaseline glass, or of Vaseline, it's still commonly referred to as Vaseline glass because of the uranium content in it. Like so. This is probably my favorite piece that I bought because it has a maker's mark on the bottom, the F for Federal Glass Works, and this is most likely a sugar dish. It had a lid at some point in time, but that lid has since separated from the bowl, but it's still beautiful. There are no chips or scratches on this piece. My other favorite is probably this little sorbet guy, because he has a lot of uranium in him too. Look at him glow. Now this piece here is peculiar because it has the right shade of color. So if you see these two pieces together, you can see that they both appear to have the same amount of the green colorant in them. But if I shine the black light on this one, and it's hard to see now, but it barely glows. Whereas this guy here, he lights up the whole room. So there's a higher portion of the uranium in this specimen than in this specimen, but they both contain it and they both look very similarly colored, but it's not until you shine a black light on them that you can see the higher concentration of the uranium. So is it safe to eat off of this? I don't know. I think there were studies done, you know, after the popularity of this that suggested that it does leach radioactive material onto maybe foodstuffs, or sometimes it just sort of radiates and you could pick that up in breathing if you're close to the piece, or it can have exposure to your skin. Again, I'm not an expert, but I would say that it's probably not that big of a deal. The amounts are so tiny, and we're exposed to all kinds of radioactive things just in the environment that I don't think that a collection of uranium glass or Vaseline glass, etc., is really going to pose that much of a health risk. Let's show it just once more in the ambient lighting. So beautiful. It's just such a marvelous color. You can also find uranium glass in blue, and I think there's a few other colors. So what I've now done, and I used to have a little UV flashlight, I've recently purchased this one. It doesn't have batteries in it, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the batteries in, and then when I go to my thrift stores, okay, I just have my pocket UV, and I can just carefully, discreetly check the pieces that I see at the thrift store so that I know if it is the uranium glass before I purchase it. So these items here, I kind of took a gamble on, but I was 99% sure. There were some other pieces that I didn't purchase because I didn't see that same sort of glowing quality to it, but now I'm wondering if they in fact did contain the uranium, and maybe I should perhaps go back and buy them. In any event, I will be prepared.